And welcome to our daily space weather video feature 2 of 3. This is what we're looking at with in-depth analysis of the Earth geospace, the heliosphere, sunspots, coronal holes, and more. So here's the Earth geospace out to about 12 Earth diameters, modeled in magnetohydrodynamic pressure. It's the last 4 hours. It's our geospace magnetosphere movie for the day. We show it daily on the Daily Space Weather, and since it refreshed, we're going to let it play through to get this on your screen as quickly as possible. Please press the share button, press like, press subscribe, and tell your friends and foes about the channel. We're doing the most in-depth solar analysis on a daily basis of anybody on the entire internet, also showing the most spectacular imagery of the closest star. Again, that's the Earth geospace magnetosphere movie for the past 4 hours. Also looking at ground magnetic perturbations here. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground, giving insight into things like where aurorae are most likely to be occurring. Also the likely places for Earth's geomagnetic fields, and so on. Ground magnetic perturbations, geospace delta B, changes to Earth's B field over the past 4 hours. Again, we are seeing a slightly increased solar wind speed here with a coronal hole high-speed stream. Here's the GOES magnetometer readings over the past 3 days. And let's take a look at the heliosphere, the heliospheric current sheet. We are seeing a green North Pole current sheet popping through over here. An indication of some possible activity in the southern hemisphere. I'll just leave it there. That's your top view ecliptic plane field plot. One of the most important data sets we have when it comes to observing and forecasting solar activity. Here's the line of sight view of the same data, essentially. And this blue line is being jerked around to show that little bit of North Pole current sheet there. So perhaps some kind of an increase in activity in the southern hemisphere. Next, the coronal hole line of sight plot. This shows the sun's B field in blue. As the solar cycle 25 progresses, we're watching the South Pole coronal hole system move to the north, and vice versa. It's called the solar polar field reversal cycle. Some South Pole oriented coronal holes rotating in there. So here they are in 193 angstroms, a great wavelength from the SDO. Great wavelength for viewing coronal holes here. We can expect another high-speed wind in a few days from that system. Next, looking at sunspots. The likelihood of major solar flares has gone way up with the growth of sunspot 2956, 2957, and 2958. All three have grown, in my opinion, over the past 24 hours. 2954 and 2955 are just alpha-class sunspots and have remained largely stable. The other three, all beta-class sunspots, all much more likely to produce solar flaring. So here's a little closer analysis of that. 1700 angstroms is great at showing those dark umbral regions. And here are some close-ups. There's 2954 and 2955. Here's 2956 right over here. And you can see it's grown a bit. Some additional umbrae showing up there. Here's 2957, which has also grown additional umbrae. I think that might be the most exciting sunspot at the moment. And then to its north, we've got 2958. 2957 and 2958 appear to be the most interesting sunspots and the most likely locations to see solar flares. They have the most magnetic complexity in their field structures. So no major flares here over the past 24. There was a C 2.86 class flare happening yesterday. No relativistic particles showing up from any of that flaring. Let's look at the real-time solar wind, which remains, again, elevated here, with the coronal hole wind stream continuing. Some data loss happening here from the ACE N discover, it looks like. Current conditions are about 540 kilometers per second for the solar wind speed. Solar wind density 8.17 protons per cubic centimeter. It's enough to get the KP index up to 3. For you new viewers, the KP index is a measurement of global geomagnetism. If you want to read more about it, click on details from the Planetary K index page. It'll provide some additional information for you. Let's look at the solar system forecast. Tomorrow we'll be saying Happy New Moon Day. Here's what's going to happen in the next week. Here's where things will be in 7 days. No, the planets aren't going to kill you. And the planets aligning in your sky, as you can see from this diagram, doesn't even amount to the planets being in line with each other, thusly. In other words, the planets can line up in the sky even though they're at completely different portions of the solar system. If you're up before dawn, you may see Mars and Venus and the Moon and Saturn and Mercury all rising ahead of the Sun. This is our star chart from in-the-sky.org. It's showing us what's going on over Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, where we are located. Shout out to our viewers from all around the world. Who knew we would make so many friends by putting up videos on YouTube? Next, looking at the coronal mass ejection that's kicking off as we make the video. Here's a view from stereo A on the left and the Soho Lasco C3 on the right. It doesn't look like an Earth-directed coronal mass ejection. It looks like it will miss well to the southwest, as you can see here, showing up in the southwest there. Earth would be off in this direction from the perspective of stereo A and directly behind you from the perspective of the Lasco C3. That's about it. That is our second feature, showing things like fields and features. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to press like and subscribe. Leave us a comment if you would. And I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-A-Mash, signing off from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news.